Mayor Cicerillo.
Here.
Councilmember Stamm. Here. Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Bath.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm the first counselor in the bishopric of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'll now pray. Dearest Heavenly Father, we are thankful to be gathered in this beautiful country, and we are thankful for those who have given their lives to allow us to have these meetings and that we can come together as a community. We ask Thee to bless our armed service members, that they may be protected this time as they protect our rights and our freedoms. We ask that Thou wilt bless us with open minds and love for our community, that we may come together in peace and joy. And we ask these things, Father, in Thy Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, the administration agenda, city council meeting minutes from August 1st, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes of the August 1st, 2023 regular council meeting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 7, presentations and proclamations. We have a presentation tonight from the new USD 262 Superintendent, Mr. Greg Lear. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for allowing me to come up and just share some information about our bond issue that's going on right now. So I am the new superintendent here in Bowie Center. So I've been here once or twice before, but took a leave for a year is what I've said. So then had the opportunity to come back and be the superintendent. So definitely excited about that. Excited to be here tonight. So just wanted to come share information with the council on what the bond's all about and just inform you more than anything else. One of the things people have asked, what is our capacity? Why? What's the rationale for this bond right now? Right there, you can see that's the capacity where we are for each individual building right now in USD 262. You can see that the percentage of capacity is highlighted. We've got a couple buildings. Abilene is 122% capacity. We have a few, you can see the student design capacity, student max capacity, and then also our enrollment from last year. So you've got Abilene at 122% and the intermediate school at 105%. Those are the biggest ones right there. You can also see the middle school as of last spring, 761. We're at 765 as of just Friday. And then the high school there, 1,001, we're at 1,036 as of Friday. Now, obviously enrollment and things like that are gonna change here in the next few weeks, but kind of a preliminary number for this school year. So that's just kind of an overall where we are in terms of capacity. As far as growth, here's our growth for the last 10 years. You can see in the last 10 years, we've grown by 482 students, which is about the size of the intermediate school right now. So basically added another school in terms of enrollment numbers. You can also see if we continue that growth, right now, in 10 years, 1.7 yearly average, which is where we've been. We'll add about 544 students in the next 10 years. The last few years, you can see 17 to 20, 2.9%, 930 students, or about 929, 3.7% just last year. So that'd be growth of 1,190 students. Right now with the middle school, we have nearly as many students in 3 grades as when the new high school was built with 4 grades. So you can kind of see when you look at those numbers, and we know with the new housing developments going into the district, those numbers, I would assume, will increase over the coming years. So one of the big questions, obviously, with that, with the capacity is what would it cost for this? As far as the bond number that we're looking at, it's $73.9 million, so $74 million. One of the things I put on there is it could never be higher, because one of the questions I've gotten is, okay, let's say you're over budget with what you're asking for. Can you ask for more money? Can't ask for more money. It's set. The bond wording here, most of the ballots have gone out. We can never ask for more than that amount. That's it. You can see it's a 2.5 mil increase, just to give a little bit of perspective there. Previous district I was in, a $14 million bond was over a 15 mil increase. So for 2.5 mils, you can see that's with only a 5% increase in assessed valuation. And on the next slide, I'll show what assessed valuation is done. And then a 2% valuation increase after 2027. And right there on the right, I have the mill levies since 2009, 2010. You can see that even with the mill levy going up to 61.158, still lower, about the same range as what it has been since that time. Here's our assessed valuations. Just since 2009, you can see in the last 10 years, we've grown 6.48%. So when you think about that, the 2.5 mil increase is with a 5% assessed valuation. Last 5 years, 9.77%, and the last 3 years, 11.49%. I can't tell the future. However, based on the trends that have happened, the likelihood of that mill rate changing could potentially happen. You don't know what you don't know what's going to happen. So I know there's been some other questions about multiple bonds and things like that. We currently have 2 bonds that we're paying on right now. One of the things people have said, we have 3, 4 bonds. We have 2 bonds. Now, those have been broken up. We've refinanced those multiple times. So they're in different, we actually will drop 2 of those bonds off in 2025. One of those, or basically the board has saved the district $8.4 million over the course of these loans. And I've told people a lot, why can't you just save the money to do this? Well, as you know, saving that money, we could easily save that money over the course of 15, 20 years. And then a $33 million school, which is what I'm going to talk about, is probably going to be 50 to 60 million to do that. So I wish that was the case, but unfortunately, it's like mortgaging a house. That's what I've related this to a lot for people. So what does that mean for you? So in terms of assessed valuation, what's it comparable to? You can see that the median home value in Sedgwick County is about $154,000 is about the median home value, which would be about $3.60 a month extra on your taxes if you have an assessed valuation of $150,000. Even at $479 a month for a $200,000 house, that's still less than a day bus pass on the Wichita bus. It's less than a Big Mac. It's less than Starbucks by far. Less than a gallon of orange juice, a day at the zoo. It's less than all of those things. So just to give you some comparison of how much money that is. One of the questions, what's included in the bond? I know this is pretty small. I apologize, but it's everything that is included in this bond and what we would do. So the big piece there at the top is the new elementary school. So $34 million to put a new elementary school. If you remember back the first slide, I talked about the capacity of the middle school and the intermediate school. We've kind of said that's kind of the pinch point. Those are the 2 buildings that are the most full. So people have asked, okay, well, if those are the most full, why aren't we building a middle school? Well, it's about $70 million to build a middle school. So what we would do, we would take 6th grade out of the middle school, move it back down to the intermediate school, make the intermediate school a 5th and 6th grade building again. We would take 4th grade out. By adding that new elementary school, that would then allow our numbers to be sustainable. Because while we moved the 4th grade up, the elementary schools were too full. This would allow us to spread those kids out more among 4 elementaries versus the 3 that we've had previously. So that's kind of the rationale for an elementary school and not a middle school. Then you can see a variety of another big one, the 20 new classrooms at the high school. You can see right there, 1,036. I remember back in the day when that was built, it's been a couple of years. Don't know that we foresee where we are right now. And there's been questions to high schools, things like that. Right now, the high school was built with the ability to add on to it. So it was built for this purpose in mind. The hallways could actually be lengthened if need be. This would actually, you'll see a picture here in a minute, it will actually add on to the north side. So then other things in there, some more classrooms there at the intermediate school to help with that size. Then also some special education facilities for our students. We actually, the supplemental program center you see on there, we actually contract out with the Mays School District for some of our special education services. What this would allow us to do would keep all of our students in the district. And we have over 900 special education students in the district. So as far as it could, anything from a speech IEP to students that are nonverbal, autistic, a lot of different special needs. So some of the special education things that are on here to make sure we're meeting our students' needs, because we have students that come from a lot of backgrounds with a lot of different needs. Here's kind of a drawing of what the high school would potentially look like. You can see right there, the new yellow classrooms there on the right. That would be where the new classroom addition would go. You can see some of the other additions, some new offices in there. We're actually using some spaces that were not meant to be offices. And then also a new multi-purpose room. Our FEMA shelter would be too small. We would have to add a new FEMA shelter to meet the FEMA shelter guidelines, because that other gym would not be big enough to hold every student. So we would need to add on another space for that. Supplemental Program Center, just a couple ideas. That's actually the high school campus. Don't know where that would go, just some hypothetical areas where that might be located. Like I said, special education, our Next Steps Academy, Learning Center, those programs could be housed there as well, potentially. Elementary school, I've told people this, it will not have a blue roof. That is not this is just a rough overhead look of what an elementary school could potentially look like. We don't have renderings or anything like that as of now. Just a potential look of what an elementary school could look like. So just the bond wording, I won't go into this in great detail, but that not to exceed amount that's there. How do I vote? I won't go over that. One of the reasons I wanted to show this to people before ballots came is it kind of looks like junk mail. So we wanted to make sure that people didn't just throw it away. So what if the bond doesn't pass? It's one of the questions a lot of people have asked. What if it doesn't pass? Because technically, really, we're at the point now where we need to do something. And we are at capacity. So potentially what it could look like is some mobile classrooms. We would bring in mobile classrooms, and those would be, you can see that's the high school. It could be right there on the north side, kind of where that new wing would be located. We don't know for sure. That's an idea. The intermediate school as well, we would need to do something there. Don't know the numbers, don't know how many that would be, but it really does. The one dilemma with these is I know the 2016 bond that was passed here, one of the things that was the priority there were safe spaces and making sure that our entrances were secure and that our kids were safe. And unfortunately, any type of mobile classroom, it's just not safe. Your doors are unlocked typically. There's a lot of different things that can come up in a mobile classroom. So that is all. I talk fast, I know, but I know your time is valuable. So I want to get as much in as possible. But what questions do you have for me over any of that?
Councilmember Anderson.
Mr. Leary, you talked about the overcrowding and showed two schools that are over capacity right now. How long, if this bond passes, how long will it take to get that elementary school online to be able to realign?
So the goal would be, that's part of the reason why we had a special election. I've gotten that question some too. Why are we having a special election? Why didn't we wait until November for the general election? Well, what this allows us to do is if it does pass the end of August, we could potentially break ground in January. So we would work probably about 2 years would be, if we had the election in November, by the time you sell the bonds and break ground, you're probably looking at summer. It's probably 3 years versus 2 years. So that was a big reason why the special election was determined to happen now instead of waiting until November. So probably a couple more years is what it would be.
Thank you. You answered my question.
I don't see any other questions from the council. So
Thank you.
thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty, we're going to move on to the public forum. We're at the point of the meeting where anybody that's here in the audience can speak to an item that is not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments, which we have none. Old business, item A, ordinance 139323, standard traffic ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just the second reading of the standard traffic ordinance to adopt that ordinance. I'll stand for any questions.
Council?
Motion to adopt ordinance 1393-23, amending chapter 10-04, section 10 of the Valley Center Municipal Code and amendments thereto related to the regulation of traffic within the corporate limits of the city of Valley Center, Kansas for second reading.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, ordinance 1394-23, Uniform Public Offense Code.
Again, this will be the second reading to adopt second reading of the ordinance to adopt the Uniform Public Offense Code. And I'll stand for any questions.
First of all, thanks for just not abbreviating these two, okay? I always have problems when you do that, so whoever put that in there, thank you, Christie.
I move to adopt ordinance 1394-23, amending chapter 9.01 of the Valley Center Municipal Code and amendments thereto for second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Moving along to new business, item A, resolution 738-23, request to Sedgwick County for island annexation. Mr. Clark.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is Resolution 738-23. This is a request from the property owners. There are two property owners, 3 tracts in total that are requesting to be island annexed in to the community. Total acres is about 306. This is along Ridge Road from 85th to 77th. It does not include any current homes. It is agriculturally used right now.
Okay, we do have one person that would like to speak on this item. Kelly Parks. Please just state your name and address for the record, even I know we have it here.
Kelly Parks, 8005 North Hoover, West Valley, Kansas, 67147, unincorporated. I live within about 6/10 of a mile of one of these tracks. I don't know where in this track that the sand pits proposed for or anything else. I don't know if you all know why this is here. A couple of weeks ago, the county turned down a request for a sand pit here. Now, why did they turn that down? If all of you don't check that out and find out why they turned it down, shame on you. But I'm just here. What I'm about 8 years ago, maybe 10, there was a talk about this going to this very same thing, being a sand pit in this location. At that time, M.S. Mitchell was alive. He has since passed. Sheila Reyes was alive. She's since passed. When there's a sand pit opened, the hydrology of it, which M.S. Mitchell, by the way, was Big Ditch Mitch. He's the guy that designed and did all the engineering for the floodway around Valley Center in Wichita. Saved both cities, I think. Anyway, he was a good hydrologist. He sat down over lunch with me one day and showed me and drew some pictures and said, here's what happens when you open up one of these sand pits. It can, not that it would, but it can pull this water away from private wells, which if you look at the map here, 8005 North Hoover is fairly close to that. All the people, Targards to the north and Staffords to the south, and a new family that moved in to the old Cooper Smith house is there. And I'm telling you, we all have water wells. Some of us have filters on them and some of us don't. But we want to be able to take a shower, and when we go over and open up the tap, we want that water to be there. That's the only reason I'm here. Last time, 8 or 10 years ago when this was brought up, some of the people over in Sheila Reyes' area, north of 85th and Hoover, said we're afraid of contamination. I know these people are responsible when they're pumping sand. If there's a leak or something with gasoline or oil, they're going to be containing that. They're going to call the proper authorities. They're not just going to let that happen. I'm not concerned about traffic. I know the traffic engineers in the county, if there needs to be turning lanes added, they're going to add those turning lanes. What I'm concerned about, and the only thing I'm concerned about, is going over and when my tap comes on, I don't want air coming out of it instead of water. So this is something that I hope you're studious on and just don't see an opportunity to annex. You can't annex off of island annexation anyway without permission. I don't know. I'd just like to see a hydrology report before a lot of things are done out there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Kirkstetter, did you have a question for Mr. Clark?
Yeah, for Mr. Clark. Or Barry, can you pull up some kind of a bigger map so I know where the city limits are compared to this area?
I'm always doing that. Did just want to remind council, since this is at least my, first island annexation, a little bit about the process. And so first, what would happen is the city would submit this resolution if it so passes this evening to Sedgwick County. Sedgwick County, then the commissioners would then vote, and they may or may not authorize the city to then island annex this area. If they do approve it, then it would come back to the city for our normal voluntarily annexation process, which would be an ordinance drafted, of course, by Mr. Barry Arbuckle, and then read 2 times. And so there'd be 2 additional readings off of that ordinance like we have done in the past.
So the orange is our city limits.
Correct. Okay. Yep. So it's 0.6 miles currently from corporate limits.
Okay. I'd be interested in that hydrology report that the gentleman was talking about. Granted, it probably doesn't need to happen today. It'd have to be done before our first way reading.
Well, no,
what's
all this is a request from the citizens for us to island annex it.
Okay.
Once we get, it still has to go through county approval. And then if whatever development, as Mr. Parks had said, would have to then follow, once we got it all annexed in, would follow our normal process.
Okay.
I don't think it's too much to ask that we get somebody to look at that. Once we get down close to that, I think it's absolutely fair. I've known Mr. Parks for quite some time, pretty much the whole time I've lived in Valley Center. And I want to make sure, though it is an ILX annexation, we are not going to do anything that would hurt their water supply. So anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember Anderson had a question.
Mr. Schreck, currently this is zoned agricultural, correct?
Great question.
Currently, these 3 lots are zoned rural residential.
Rural residential.
And
okay.
that's a county code. And what happens is whenever a property is annexed into the city, by our zoning code, we have to accept it with the designation that it has right now. And so you have to align it as closely to our zoning code as possible. And so would the annexation, if the annexation goes through, these lots would come in, these 3 parcels would come in as RR1, which is the closest, which is our suburban residential district.
Okay. And for that to change, what type of zoning do we have to have if it is going to be, if they're going to mine it for sand or whatever?
So for mineral extraction, that has to be an agriculturally zoned. So those 3 lots would then have to go through the rezoning process.
Okay.
That works through an application by the property owners that's submitted to the city's planning and zoning board. They will review the rezoning application, and if they vote to approve it, then it comes before you as city council with a rezoning ordinance.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Councilmember Colbert.
If I understand correctly, there's really no action other than just approving the annexation portion. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we're not even approving the annexation. We're approving the request for us as the city to go to the county and ask for the annexation.
have we asked the people that live in that area if they would be willing to go into Valley
The
Center?
people are requesting us to do that, yes. So the 3 lot owners have come to us and said, we want you to, we're asking you to island annex us into the city of Valley Center. So this is the next step, is us having to now have to have a resolution to go to the county because the county has to approve it. So the county commission will get this, I don't know what meeting it will be, but they will get that and they will have to discuss it and they could say nay or yay. And if they say no, then it's a moot point. If they say yay, then we go through the process we were just talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Stam.
I had a question on the hydrology thing. How long have you lived there, Mr. Parks? I'm looking at Google Earth, and I'm counting like 14 to 17 sand pits from 96 up to the river. Did those ever affect your water?
No, that, nothing's been that close, though.
It's
There's
pretty
nothing
close.
that
It's only
close.
probably mile and a half from where you're gonna.
And from where, there was some factor with a big ditch in there that Mitch recommended. If Sheila hadn't passed away, I would have had all that report. I don't know where that report is.
I just know there's tons of sand pits on 53rd, all along ridge and stuff. So I
Right.
don't know if those had affected your water pressure.
Well, some of those have like a 7 to 9 foot first water hit, and they went from 7 to 9 foot down to about 32. So, but from one of them that I can think of, just southwest of 53rd and Ridge, he lost quite a bit of footage on water, but he still has water.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the city of Wichita, of course, is in the moorings and other places. City of Wichita has a lot of water out there. And maybe long-term, you guys will have water out there. And anyway, that answered any, I don't know that I can answer a question like that. But what I did know, I told you.
Okay,
Thank you. Anybody else? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 738-23 regarding island annexation approval from Sedgwick County.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, final pay app for Ford Street. Mr. Shear, how are you?
Good. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the final pay application for the Ford Street project. This will close out the project and pay the remaining balance to Wildcat Construction, and I'll stand for any questions.
Council, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve payment for final pay application for Ford Street project in the amount of $610,539.46.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, final pay app for Cedar Ridge.
Before you tonight is another final pay app. This is for Cedar Ridge, which is the subdivision, which I think has since been renamed from the beginning of the project. Terra. Seneca and Ford, north side, northeast corner. This pay app, there is LDs, liquidated damages, withheld from this payment in the amount of $48,000 and some change. 33 of that is part of the next agenda item. Similar to the Ford Street water line where we withheld money for inspection, or Arbor Valley, I recall. Assessing liquidated damages to the contractor for going over their contract time to cover additional inspection and costs added to the city. So that's what that highlighted yellow line is up in the second page. I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? No? Motion?
Move to approve final payment application for Cedar Ridge in the amount of $47,707.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Item D, supplemental agreement for Cedar Ridge inspection.
So building off that pay app and LDs that I just mentioned, this is covering the additional inspection required by the contractor exceeding their time for PEC field services in the amount of $33,689.
Councilmember Gregory.
How many days over did they go?
Approximately 3 months-ish. Yep. So about 3 months.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Go ahead. Move to approve supplemental agreement for additional inspection services in Cedar Ridge Estates in the amount of $33,689.10 and authorize mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item E, approval of debt policy. Mr. Smith.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is our request to approve our formal debt policy in regards to issuing debt for the city. It pertains to capital projects and everything like that. Just like our purchasing policy that we approved several months back, this is a process that we do follow internally. I think you close the agenda. Excuse me one moment. Keep you on your toes. So yeah, just like I explained, it is a basically formal written down policy asking for approval from the governing body of the practices and procedures that we already follow when it comes to debt issuance for all of our capital projects. I know it's a lot of information, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Councilmember Gregory.
So this is a new policy? I mean, I understand it's what you're doing, but for a formal policy, it's new.
Right. So it's just a procedure that's always been followed. It's just the first time it's been written down and presented to council for
Formalized.
formal adoption, basically. It just covers all the analysis we need to do with all the capital projects, how they affect our operating, if they affect our revenues, how they impact our mill levy with our bond and interest fund. That's what I presented during our budget presentations, showing our mill levy, how it stays stagnant, even though we're adding these projects in, this kind of analysis.
Council.
Move to approve the City of Valley Center debt policy.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, approval of investment policy.
So one more for approval here is our investment policy. This one is pretty much straight from the statutes, but it's much easier to read. Much more sectioned out and much easier to follow. Basically states we'll follow all statutory guidelines when it comes to investment of city money, investment of bond proceeds, how we can invest it, the collateralization of it in banks, how it all needs to be 100% collateralized. That way we are never in a situation where we lose any of our city funds. Also attached to these are glossaries with definitions, if you've never seen any of those words used in that way before.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Can you go to section 1, please? It states that except for cash and certain restricted and special funds, we're going to consolidate. So I guess, does this mean we're going to, my understanding is we have multiple bank accounts. Are we going to consolidate into one or keep those multiple, or is it?
We have a couple different accounts, but basically what that's saying is we're not going to make one deposit with just our general fund balance into one certificate of deposit or anything like that. We'll combine all of our fund balances together and just make one investment at a time rather than 12 different investments attached to each different fund we have.
Makes
It's
more
just a much
sense.
easier, cleaner way to do it on our end.
Okay. and get the best rate we can. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Approve City of Valley Center investment policy.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda is presented.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, back it's empty, so I guess we're done. Let's move along to staff reports. Mr. Schrack.
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Owens is not here. Chief Newman. Mr. Eggleston.
Just real quick, we have one new employee starting in the streets department on Monday. His name is Steve Johnson. That will fill out the staff for the streets department and the water wastewater departments. We are still, however, in search for a replacement for our utilities.
Thank you. Mr. Shear. Mr. Arbuckle. Mr. Smith.
So one quick reminder, at our next city council meeting, September 5th, will be our revenue neutral rate hearing, our budget hearing, and then the adoption of the fiscal year 24 budget. So
Thank you. Mr. Clark.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I wasn't going to say anything, but we do have our farmers market coming up on Thursday. This Thursday is our farmers market from 4 to 8 downtown. So we have AYSO. So get your kicks on, I believe is the theme, Mr. Strunk. Get your kicks, yes, something like that. And we had great music from 5:30 to 7:30. So make sure you head downtown. Also, too, I did leave at your podium or at your desks there, our recreation and aquatic center groundbreaking. Yay. Will be Thursday, August 24th at 7 p.m. And so it'll be just north of the middle school parking lot. And so go ahead and park in the middle school parking lot, and then you'll see where the area will be set up. And also, too, DZ Ice Cream and Treats will be there serving ice cream thanks to McCown Gordon. So, Dan, for any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move along to governing body reports. I have nothing. Councilmember Stam?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Evans?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Bass?
Nothing for me.
Councilmember Anderson?
Just a reminder of the community barbecue this Saturday from 6 to 9 at Lions Park. They will be introducing, I believe, all the fall sports teams. The band will be playing, selling all kinds of Hornet gear from our wonderful Booster Club. Tickets can be purchased at Ann's Attic or Nick's Barbershop. They are $20. That money supplements all of the students and athletes do not pay. So that's how they balance that out. But it's anything, it's a fundraiser for the Booster Club. So anyway.
Will you be making the food?
Yes, again.
Okay.
I guess unless somebody else would like to do that.
No, just curious to see if you're still.
We have steadily increased since we started this. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, however long ago we started. We're preparing for 800 this year. So
very good.
Come on out. It's going to be nice and warm, and enjoy a good evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Gregory.
I was going to remind you of the farmer's market, but Mr. Clark already did.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Wilson.
No, I'm good, sir. Thank you.
And last but clearly not least, Councilmember Colbert.
Why don't I always get? I got one thing. We have an invitation to attend the McConnell Air Force Base Tour program. It'd take 25 people. It'd be approximately a 4-hour program. Meals included and introductions to the base commander and a few other key people in the community. If anybody's interested in going, please let me know as soon as possible. And the reason being is I need your name. And yes, even if you decide later on not to go, if you give me your name so I can send it back to the base and they conduct an internal investigation on each individual. Don't laugh, Chris, you'll be the one.
Count me out. No, no. Do you have an idea of when this would be?
It's supposed to be within the next 90 days.
Okay.
They would definitely love the month of September, but it just depends on how fast I can get 25 individuals.
Okay.
And that includes the city council, the school district. If your individuals want to go, they're welcome to go, and anybody else in the audience, they can go. And that's for your wives too, by the way, if you want to take it. It'll be a bus tour. They'll give you a selective parking space. You will not enter the base. You'll have to, the only way you're going to get on the base is get on the bus. No private vehicles will be allowed to go on the base on that there. That's the first thing I have. Second thing I have is transportation is added again. Federal transportation last week announced the availability of $13.4 million in competitive grant programs for the FTA. This funding will support planning, investment for transit hubs to promote suitability, reliability, and equality communities. So if anybody's interested, this would come out today. I got it today, but from what I gather, it was since August 15th. So that's available on that one.
It's today.
One other curious, I had somebody ask me a question in reference to the school, and I probably should have asked it at that time. They would like to see not happen is Valley Center is the only place you can vote for the school program of the new high school. They'd like to see kids from Park City or Keachai or whoever is coming to the schools be eligible to vote on it also. So.
Sorry there, Councilmember Colbert, I want to ask that question. Are you asking who receives a ballot in the mail to vote?
Will it extend into the other communities?
Yes, and so it's everyone within the school district boundaries that live within the district boundaries that are registered voters. Everyone should or should be receiving a ballot in the mail for all registered voters in the entire school district, which includes Wichita, Valley Center, of course, parts of Keachai, Park City, everyone in the 262 district. Now, if they did not receive a ballot yet, or if they misplaced theirs or threw it away, make sure to contact Laura Rainwater in the election office, and they can get you another ballot.
Okay. But I had to ask.
Okay.
On that there. As far as the groundbreaking ceremony, the fence is up already. We can't go walking through the woods again?
No.
Huh?
You can climb it.
Huh?
You can climb it.
Yeah, can you see me on that fence? Yeah, sure.
No, but I would love to see that. So.
If there's no further other business before the council, I make a motion the meeting be adjourned.
Second. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned.